after we are done. So today, our big takeaways today is we want our applicants to be comfortable using our website. We want you to avoid common application errors that we see that our applicants encounter. So we'll be dedicating some extra time to those areas where we've had applicants struggle. And then again, we are available to answer your questions. So please reach out to us, ask your questions today. We all log off and you've got some follow-up questions later this afternoon. Definitely reach out to the team. Jesse has put everybody's contact information in the chat and we are here to help. So again, common application errors. There are 5 that we have identified that our applicants really get hung up on. So we'll spend a lot of time on these 5 areas. Those include bond, people not matching what's on the Arizona Corporation Commission records, background checks, identification, and testing. So again, we are going to dedicate quite a bit of time to these areas. If you've got questions about these areas, please don't be shy. Go ahead and ask those questions so that your application process is as smooth and as seamless as possible. How to submit your application. So we cannot stress the online portal enough. You'll hear myself and my colleagues talk about this at length today. It is the most convenient, most accessible way to submit your license application. Currently, we have about 90% of our applicants submitting their applications through the portal. Takes you step by step. It really helps ensure that you're not missing anything. So if you haven't already visited our website and set up your portal account, we'll talk a little bit about that. So first you'll need to create an account. And the information required to create your portal account includes your authorized reps info, name, date of birth, valid email address. This is something you'll hear us say a few times today as well. Valid email address. Make sure that it is an email address that is checked regularly. Of course, check those spam or promotion folders just in case one of our emails get hung up there. Provide us with your preferred method of contact. And then, of course, as you set up your username and password, you'll need to select some security questions. We'll also need information about your business entity or your company. So what kind of entity are you? The name of your company or the name of your sole proprietor and partners, Arizona Corporation Commission file number if you're an LLC or corporation, again, valid email address, a physical business address, and phone number. You'll access our portal via our website. So you'll go here to My Account and log in. And then you'll create your online portal account. So we have a couple of quick videos here that will walk you through the process of creating an account. You'll also receive links to these videos in our follow-up email.
If you're logging into the ROC Online Customer Portal after November 15th, 2021, you will need to create a new account even if you previously had one. Click the Register Here button to create your account. Next, you'll need to add your name, email address, date of birth, government-issued ID number, social security number, a preferred method of communication, and a phone number. Next, you're going to need to go check your email. If you don't see the Welcome to AZ ROC email in your inbox, please check your spam folder. And look, there it is, Welcome to AZ ROC. There will be a link in the email to help you set your password. If the link is not clickable, just copy it and paste it in the search bar. Next, you're going to need to create a password. It needs to be 10 characters with at least one letter and at least one number. You'll need to enter the password twice. Now that you've made your account, you're ready to use the ROC Online Customer Portal.
And the second video is how you connect your business to the account that you just set up.
To connect your ROC Online Customer Portal account to your business, you will need to click the Add an Entity to Your Account button at the top of the dashboard. If you are already a licensed contractor, the easiest way to add an existing ROC licensed business is by searching with your ROC license number. If you're trying to connect a business entity to your account that is not yet licensed with Arizona Registrar of Contractors, you will need to search for the business entity, either using the Arizona Corporation Commission file number, the sole proprietor's name, or the business entity's name. Please follow the instructions and fill out the required fields to help you find your business. Once the business is connected to your account, it'll show up on your dashboard under Business Entities.
All right, so once you've set up your portal account, the next step will be filling out the application. And I'm going to hand it over to Maggie, who's going to walk us through the application process. Maggie?
All right, good morning, everybody. First thing I wanted to just point everybody to before we get started going over your application process is our website. We do have on our website a section called Applying for Your License, and that walks you through the step-by-step items that you need to complete and have completed in order for you to submit your license application. Those are also the things that we're going to be going through this morning. And if you have any questions that come up, please ask as they come up. Jesse did also just post that link for that applying for a license checklist, as well as you'll want to visit that at the end of this seminar today. So when you are filling out your application, the first thing you're going to need to determine is who is the applicant. So there's a couple different entity types that you can apply as, things like a sole proprietorship, an LLC, and you need to apply in various ways as you are applying as the different entity types. So if you're applying as a sole proprietorship, your entity name needs to match your name as it appears on your government ID. Anything else such as like corporations or LLCs, you'll want to make sure that your name matches the name exactly as you filed it with Arizona Corporation Commission. Your license can also hold a DBA. So a DBA stands for doing business as. So you can contract under your DBA if it is a ROC approved name, meaning it has to be listed on your license. So in order for it to be listed on your license, it needs to be listed on the part 1 of your application. So where you will input your DBA. And then it also needs to be listed on your bond. So your entity name in its entirety, including a DBA, needs to match exactly on your bond in order for that application to get processed. It is not required, but we do recommend that you register your DBA with the Secretary of State. And the DBA is something that can be updated, removed, or added at any time. Once you've determined how you're going to be applying, you'll need to then consider what license classification best fits your scope of work. We have a number of classifications. Those can be found on our website under licensing classifications. We do cover a strictly residential license, a strictly commercial license, or you can get a dual license, which covers both. We do have engineering, general contracting, and then we go into the specialty licenses as well. If you are unsure of which license classification best fits your work you are going to be doing, I would first suggest that you go to our website and you read through our classifications. From there, if you still are not sure of which license classification best fits your scope of work, then you can submit to us what is called a scope determination request. And that is when you give us the information pertaining to your scope of work, what kind of work you're going to be doing, and then we give you a suggested classification that we feel would best fit your scope of work. If you feel that a certain classification is your classification, then please apply for it. If you know, some are very, very direct, such as plumbing, electrical, HVAC. Some are a little bit more broad. Some of our general licenses are a little bit more broader. So definitely read those classifications. And if you're still uncertain, then send us that scope request and we'll advise you on what is the best classification that fits your work. Once you have determined your license classification that you are going to be applying for, you will then need to determine who is going to be your qualifying party, or as you will hear a lot, your QP. So if you are a single owner, it's just you on your license, yes, you can be your qualifying party. If you want to hire an employee and that employee is going to be your qualifying party, that is also an option as well. However, the qualifying party does need to meet certain requirements. The qualifying party is going to be the individual who takes and passes the Arizona Statutes and Rules exam and the specific trade exam if applicable to the license. The qualifying party is also the person who is going to attest to their work experience. So if you are applying through our online portal, it's going to ask you to provide the minimum years of required experience, and then whether you receive that experience hands-on, supervising the work being done, if you conducted that scope of work during an education time frame, that can also be used. Also, if you had any kind of like military experience relating to that scope of work as well. We do not pre-approve experience, so we will go over the license classification requirements. There is a license classification requirements that will advise you on which classifications require which exams and how much experience, as that can vary. Some other identifiable information we will need for your qualifying party: date of birth, social security. Anybody and everyone who's going to be on your license needs a valid and legible government ID. We do need contact information, their phone number, their email, and then as well as anybody else who's going to be listed on the license, we will need a valid and completed background check, and we'll go over that a little bit later as well. All right, so your exams. So if you are going to be the qualifying party, or if your qualifying party who will be listed on your license was listed as the qualifying party on an Arizona license that was active within the last 5 years, then the qualifying party can waive the statutes and rules exam. If the qualifying party was named on an Arizona license of the same classification within the last 5 years, then the QP can waive the trade exam. If you are applying and your qualifying party would like to waive their exams because they were listed on a license in another state, the statutes and rules exam is not waivable. You cannot waive that. You can only waive the statutes and rules exam if you were listed on an Arizona license in the last 5. The statutes and rules exam goes over Arizona specific statutes and rules, so that cannot be waived. The trade exam, however, if you are applying from an out-of-state license, it can potentially be waived. If the qualifying party was named on the comparable license, as the qualifying party or in the same capacity of a qualifying party. And that license was active within the last 5 years. And you would want to submit that out-of-state waiver so that we can verify with that other state. Just like experience, we do not pre-approve out-of-state waivers. Some things we're looking for: is the qualifying party the same? Are there any unresolved complaints? Is the scope of work that was done in the other state comparable to the scope of work that is going to be done here? So those are the things that we are looking at. And then for your examination, so your statutes and rules exam is done through G-Metrics. That is an online training course and exam. You watch some videos, you answer some questions. It can usually be done and completed within a couple of hours. That is strictly online. It is not a proctored exam. There is not somebody watching you. PSI is a little bit different. So PSI conducts the trade and solar exams. Those exams are offered either online or in person. Both the online and in-person exams are going to be proctored exams, meaning that they are going to be watching you. You cannot have cell phones in the exam. If you're doing it online, you'll have to have a working camera so that they can watch while you're in your exam. So like I said, the statutes and rules exam is a training course, covers laws, that is online only. There is a cost of $54. There is no study material that you have to purchase. It is all a free downloadable statutes and rules book. Under that applying for a license, in that past examination sections, you will find the link to get you to G-Metrics to take that statutes and rules exam. The trade exams are a little bit different. Those are going to cover your specific trade that you are applying for. Again, those are online or in person, and they are supervised and timed. Cost is a little bit different. You're looking at about 66 for the trade and 40 for your solar material. The link to the exam registration is found on our applying for a license checklist. You can also find some study materials for your trade exam. There is going to be certain material that can be taken into the exam with you, while other material cannot. So we'll discuss that information here shortly. So if you are going to be taking the trade exam, you will want to go to our PSI candidate information bulletin. From there, you're going to find the classification for which you are applying for. When you click into that link for your specific classification, it's going to give you an outline of the exam, a list of reference materials, and kind of what to expect as you go in to take this trade exam. So once you've identified who your qualifying party is, and you've gathered all that information that we need for the qualifying party, the next thing we need to determine is who else needs to be included in the license application. So for LLCs and corporations, that's going to be any owners of 25% or more. For LLCs, that would be any members or managers. For corporations, that's going to be anybody who holds an officer position. And you will want to double check with Arizona Corporation Commission. If you have someone listed on Arizona Corporation Commission, most likely they're going to need to be included in your license application. If you are a tiered entity, meaning your entity is owned by another entity, you will need to submit an organizational chart. It is not like a fillable form. You will have to create your own chart. And your chart should end in a person. If your chart does not end in a person, we need to know why and where that ownership ends. There's also some other items that will need to be included, such as the statement attestation at the top that no person of 25% or more is included. Also, signature of an authorized representative. We also need addresses and ownership percentages. So your organizational chart should look pretty similar to the one that we have listed here. We need to be able to see where that ownership is, and anybody of 25% or more is going to need to be listed on there, including entities and persons. So for those individuals, those owners, those managers, members who are going to be listed on your license application, we're going to need the following information. You'll see here driver's license, government ID is in red because that is one of our items that we receive with errors a lot. We will need all their contact info, addresses, phone numbers, email, ownership percentage, social security numbers. Background check is also another item that is highlighted in red because many times applications are submitted without background checks. Your background check should be completed before you submit your application to us. Your background checks are going to be good for 90 days. So just make sure you get those in and completed before you submit your application. All right, so like I said, background checks. So the actual process of the background check being completed can take anywhere from 2 to 30 days. There's a lot of different factors that come into play. Was there a name change? Was there a lot of moving? Are there felonies? Are there misdemeanors? Is additional documentation needed? From courts? Are those courts closed? So there's a lot of different factors that go into play of your background check. So I would say your background check should be probably one of the first things that you try and get completed if you're worried that it may take a little bit longer. Like I said, we want to make sure those background checks are within that 90-day timeline. If you can, there is a link on our website to the background check where you just go in. You do have to use our vendor that is in our applying for a license checklist, is the link there that you can go directly to, and that will take you there to submit that. All right, so we did go over a lot of information. Just kind of want to take this second to kind of regroup. Go over some of that vital information that we covered already. So your qualifying party, who is your qualifying party? Your qualifying party can either be you yourself or a regularly employed person on your license. That's going to be the person who has the experience, has the skills, has the exams, the passing exams to be listed on the license as your qualifying party. The other individuals who will need to be listed is anybody who owns 25% or more. Any of those members or managers, corporate officers and directors, you know, in simple, as well as anybody who's going to be listed on AZCC. We need their info as well. And then all of those individuals, including your qualifying party, are going to need to have their completed section of the application, their IDs, and their background checks as well. All right, so some other items that you will see as you're going through your license application is going to be the disclosure section. So we will be asking you to disclose if you have been listed on a prior license that was revoked or suspended. If you were cited previously for unlicensed activity or convicted of unlicensed activity, or if you have any felony convictions or pending charges. Those will need to be answered yes or no for any individuals who are listed on the license. If you answer yes to any of them, then further research and information would be required at that time. All right, your criminal history documentation. So if you do attest to having a felony, we will require that you provide us with that felony documentation as well as some additional documents for us to review in that felony review process. So that could be things like restoring of rights, any indictments or complaints, a pre-sentence report, documentation of completing a sentence, as well as there's some other supporting docs that you can send, like letters of reference, any completion of additional programs as well. All right, so once you kind of have all of your background checks, your IDs, your application parts, your disclosures, then we're going to go into some additional documents and the fees that you will submit with your application. Bonds. So every license does have to hold a bond. There's a few different types of bonds that you can submit. Obviously, if you're going to be submitting a cash bond, you will need to come in person to submit that. You can pay for that here in our office or mail it in as well. Surety bonds will come from a surety bond company. We do have a list of surety bond companies that are available. We also do have a bond portal. So we have a number of bond companies that use our bond portal. And the great thing about that is when you submit your application through our online portal, the bond company then goes in and uploads your bond that you have purchased with them to your application. So they can also go in and update your bond if needed as well. Your bonds are one of our largest errors, and we're going to go over kind of some of the common errors that we see within the bonds that are submitted. So your bond does need to be submitted through the ROC bond form. Keep in mind if you are using a bond portal company, so a bond company that uses our bond portal, you do not need to submit to us your bond form. Your bond company will upload that automatically. So some big things that need to be listed on your bond form: your bond number. We need your full entity name, so exactly how you're applying for your license as, including your DBA. Your license classification also should be listed. If you're applying for what we call a dual classification, meaning a commercial and a residential, like you see here in the CR7, you want to make sure that your bond penal sums are divided out. So as you can see here, we have the $4,250 in residential coverage and the $2,500 in commercial coverage. So on those dual licenses, we're looking for those penal sums to be divided out. We're also want to make sure that your effective date is within 6 months, and we cannot approve an application that has a future date. So keep that in mind as well. If submitting a bond to us, you also need to make sure that it is notarized and has a bond company seal on it. There is a table that you will see here that helps you to calculate your bond coverage. If you are applying online through our portal, it's going to advise you on to select your estimated volume for your license for the year, and then that determines what your minimum bond requirement is. So with a CR7 license that we had listed previously, if we said that your estimated residential specialty volume was 200,000, then the minimum requirement for your bond would be 4,250. If it increased, then your minimum requirement would need to increase. Same thing for the commercial aspect of it. If the commercial specialty volume was 50,000, that puts it at that minimum of 2,500 required to be listed on that bond. So this bond spreadsheet, this table is also found on our website as well. So you can go and kind of see your minimum bond coverage that you would need based on your estimated volume. Keep in mind when you renew, or you can always increase your bond if your license volume increases as well. Workers' compensation. If you are going to have employees, or you have employees, then you need to provide us with workers' compensation. We're just looking for your policy number and the company that's issuing your policy. If you're self-insured, then we need that proof of self-insurance. There is an exemption to workers' comp if you are a single or 50-50 2-member owned company, then you have no employees, then you would be considered exempt. But you will see that exemption option on your application. So you would need to attest to either being exempt or having the policy information. There is some other documentations that you can submit with your application. If your license is going to be a solar license, then it would need to include a solar warranty. There is an example of that on our website as well. When applying for a new license, you can opt to cancel a prior license or cancel that prior license upon issuance of your new license, as well as inactivating or the qualifying party disassociating from a prior license is an option as well. And then your application fees. So here you can kind of see the breakdown of what your fees are. So you have your application fee, your license fee, and then your residential licenses will have that recovery fund assessment fee there. So based on your license classification that you are applying for, that will determine what your application fee is. And then just some common things that we are seeing a lot. So just want to bring it to your attention so you can try to make sure that your application hopefully comes through with as minimal errors as possible. That's the goal. So things like your bond, making sure that we have all of the individuals who will need to be listed on your application, background checks, valid and legible IDs, and then any required testing for your qualifying party.
All right, thank you, Maggie. So just a few things before we open it up for our final Q&A. We ask that you check your email later this week. We are going to send out, as we mentioned earlier, a recorded copy of today's presentation, as well as a copy of the slides. Jesse will also include a resource sheet, which will include all of our contact information, and then links to the online portal demo videos that we shared. And then we do ask that you complete the survey. So we'll also send out a quick survey. If you could answer those questions, that would be great. We hold these applicant education seminars monthly with the hopes that we get a lot of questions and folks get all their questions answered, all their information together, and they're able to go to the portal and submit their application with no errors. And then we also ask, when you do submit your application, that you check the box that asks whether or not you attended today's seminar. We have found these to be very useful. They get a lot of hits on our YouTube page. People are revisiting them. So if you missed something or want to revisit a certain section, you can go back to the presentation and take a look there. So again, thank you all for being here with us today. We are glad you are here with us. I don't know if I saw any questions come through